always feel like styling. Right next to Kerrie, Symmonds is where you will find me. And the posse doing Dixie, his plans they got me tipsy. Now's the time to get through, so this is what we do. This is what we do.
Rolling, rolling with Kerrie Symmonds.
This is what we do.
Voting, voting for Kerrie Symmonds.
This is what we do.
Rolling, rolling with Kerrie.
A pleasant good evening to you, Taitt Hill Labour Party family. Well, after that marathon from here, there's not much left to say. But I can start by saying to you that tomorrow we do that which is unprecedented in the history of Barbados. We take the most accomplished, most talented first-time candidate ever to the nomination so that she can be nominated for the Barbados Labour Party as the candidate in St. George North. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that as you go on that journey with us tomorrow, that you should reflect a little bit on what Mayor has just said to you and what the Democratic Labour Party has become. Reflect over the last 10 years. And you will be forgiven, Cynthia Ford, if you began your journey of reflection by thinking about the disappearance, the fraudulent, criminal disappearance of $3.33 million while a sitting Prime Minister's office was involved in that disappearance. You will be forgiven if on the journey of reflection, you came to the point where you reflected on an internationally wanted criminal who had to be captured, prosecuted, and subsequently convicted in the name of Don Villinis. On the journey of reflection, you will be forgiven if you reflect on the fact that out of the belly of the Democratic Labour Party, while in government, a man known as Little Hitler went into a police station and stole ammunition and walked back out. You will be forgiven, ladies and gentlemen, if as you reflect on the Democratic Labour Party whilst in office, you reflect on the fact that a man who was severely disabled, committed to a wheelchair, was financially raped. And when you think of these things that the Democratic Labour Party did, you would equally be forgiven if you say to yourself that it stopped taking on the image of a revered and respected political crucible, a crucible of discussion that Errol Walton Barrow built and assumed the image of a criminal enterprise. But that is what the Democratic Labour Party became in shape. It's what it became in its appearance. That's what the Democratic Labour Party was reduced to. And we have a duty, therefore, tonight to take this country forward in a way that allows us, as Mayor just tell you, to focus on the things that matter. Now, one of the things that matter is this issue of the debate and not participating in the debate. And that came up this week. Now, I say just simply this to you. The idea of having a debate is about people who are contending for office, having a discussion with one another about the things that matter to St. George North. The idea of having a debate is about people who are contending for office, speaking about the societal issues here in this constituency, speaking about the environmental issues, the sporting problems, the problems of employment, all the things that mattered, roads, transportation, access to good health care, all the things that matter to you and your children and your families. But that is the Barbadian way, ladies and gentlemen. The Barbadian experience buried deep in the psyche of this country, in every part of Barbados, bar no district, without exception, has been that we argue, man. We argue in every rum shop and village bar. We argue, we have an exchange of views about political issues, about religious issues, about sporting issues. We argue in every market, in every supermarket. We argue and we have robust debate. But when done, we vote. But Vernon de Pisa has repudiated that fundamental part of what is Barbados. The Democratic Labour Party tonight has rejected that which Errol Barra built, because he built a party that was a political vehicle that was forged on ideas. Every blessed Friday, they used to have a meeting at George Street where they will have discussion about politics in the Democratic Labour Party every Friday. And all of this has dried up. And now you come in the middle of an election and Mayor Motley offers an opportunity to a man and to a female leader like her to say, look, let's exchange ideas. I ain't turn and run. Nobody ain't show up. Let me ask you a question. Real talk. What is it that to run from? What's it that they're running from? And when they run like how they have, what is the signal that they are sending to you? Because I can tell you the signal that sent to me. And y'all don't know much about this because we don't talk about everything and we don't share everything because you don't want to create social dislocation in Barbados. But you know part of what this is about? Part of what it's about is the new Democratic Labour Party way. That Vernon de Pisa, much like Frandl Stewart, is more interested in suppression of opinion, more interested in repressing public commentary than she is about public policy and development of this country. Frandl Stewart demonstrated what he was made of when he went out of his way to banish the Barbados Labour Party from CBC. So that the faces that you sent to Parliament were never to be seen on CBC television. Their voices were never to be heard on CBC. Vernon de Pisa has rejected an opportunity to share views. We don't talk about these things. But there was a time, the Attorney General who spoke on the platform tonight was in opposition with me when Mayor was opposition leader. There was a time when Dale Marshall and Kerrie Symmonds and Mayor Motley were summoned to District A police station and subjected to the intentional intimidation of being questioned by police because we had the temerity to reject a ruling by the then Speaker of the House of Assembly. In a press conference, we held a press conference and told Barbados what we thought of the Speaker and the way he was behaving. And a little while later, we are summoned to District A police station. But as a fact, that was under the administration of Frandl Jerome Stewart. We don't keep no big long noise about these things because we have endured it. But you need to understand what the Democratic Labour Party is about when it comes to freedom of information and freedom of expression in this land of your birth. And if tonight you feel that you have reason, cause, and justification to be upset about the way in which they have poured scorn and contempt on what by any other standard is a legitimate way, because there's no other realistic way other than the bullet, you have to use the ballot. And if you're going to use the ballot to govern, as opposed to the bullet, then it is about engagement in a constructive way. I talk to you about the things that matter to you, to convince you that I am worthy for your consent, that I can govern and lead you. But But that's the only way it can work. But if you don't want to engage and don't feel that the consent of the governed is important, but that you can rabble rouse and curse up and fight up, and as a result of that you should get what you want, then you are rejecting the essence of the democracy that our water and bar bill. That is what Mayor Motley has effectively told you just now about where the Democratic Labour Party has gone to. And therefore we have a duty, I think, to forget about foolish people like them. We have also a duty to look at what we have offered you. Yesterday, Tony Moore told you that in a very simple way, she wants us to recognize that the country ain't really got any money. There's too much unemployment in Barbados. Too much claims on the severance payment. We already paid out $125 million to assist people in this country. There's a massive claim because there's a massive degree of fallout and dislocation as a result of COVID-19. So therefore, what Tony tell you is that this got to be about Barbadians helping Barbadians. Lift a brother up and lift a sister up. And that's where we are going. I am pleased to be able to say to you tonight, as the minister responsible for entrepreneurship and small business, that one of the things we are going to do, and we are announcing the program in a few days' time when the month turns, is to roll out a program of Barbadians helping Barbadians for Christmas. So that your Christmas, a man like Jefferson Payne, who got a girlfriend and some say two, I don't get into that. I ain't making it get raceway. I say some say, I ain't say. But what he must now be encouraged to do is to make sure that the body lotions and the beauty bars are the gifts. Let me forget for this Christmas about the lamb bag and the Michael Kors, because they got people in Temple Yard that making leather bags though. Let me forget a little bit about the foreign imports, and let us make sure that for the Christmas season, we keep Barbadians employed by buying Barbados. If the Prime Minister of Barbados yesterday could take off her sandal to show you that she wearing something that get by from down in Temple Yard, good God, man, all of us can walk that road together to keep Barbadians employed. That is where we have to go. Equally, I had the pleasure this evening of launching an intervention in this economy. That was the brainchild, again, of Mayor Motley. And you will recall, those of you who are following the Labour Party closely, and I know some of you are, that we had a covenant of hope in 2016. You remember that? And that covenant of hope spoke to the need to make sure we constantly train and retrain micro and small business people, because we wanted them to be at the best that they could be, not only in what they do, but in understanding the management of finances. Too many businesses in Barbados are collapsing and have collapsed and failed because of financial problems that could have been avoided if only we did not just throw money at people, but through the years had sat down and worked with people to help them to understand the difficulties of the way in which they're doing things. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us be frank. Most important of all is the fate that has befallen black businesses in Barbados. But you don't hear this coming from the Democratic Labour Party. You don't hear this coming from the one that Reverend Atherley leads. It's a reality. There are thousands of black businesses in Barbados that have not seen past one generation. That you start a mechanic shop, you pour your life savings into the mechanic shop. You may have been successful, but you got 4 boy children, all of them turned the back on the shop though. You may have been successful, but next door to you, or the friend across the street, or the fellas that went to school with you, nobody has partnered with you to make sure that that shop grew and that it went into a 2nd generation and a 3rd generation. But we as black people cannot forever be hewers of wood and drawers of water, and be the race in this country that has the greatest degree of economic fragility. When you look at what is happening with other races in Barbados, and I must tell you, this is a discussion the country has to have, because there are white persons in Barbados who can trace the business that them got back to 18 somebody. That's a fact. And in some cases further back than 1800. There are people who came here from Asian countries, whether it's India or elsewhere, and can trace their businesses before independence in Barbados. So we cannot continue to content ourselves with a country in which those of us who constitute the majority race find a circumstances where economic fragility for us is so extreme that even when we pour life savings into the business, even when we pour everything we get, when you get severed from the job you were in and you then say, well, I can take this, or you suffer an injury and you get paid out and you say, I can put it into my own thing and start up, that it dissipates and disappears before your eyes. So in 2016, we sat down while in opposition. And what Mayor Motley said to you tonight is 100% true. A political party may not be able to do anything in opposition in terms of making sure you got street lights and roads and so on. But in opposition, you can put together plans. You can put together the intellectual infrastructure that allows the country to go forward and engage a government on those things. And that's where the failing of Verla, the Pisa, and that crowd of buffoons is. Because they don't do any intellectual work. And if you're going down the road with Floyd, you ain't going to get much further than on that wicket. You're going to get stumped, star. Because that is not where he can do any heavy lifting. So we go back to the issue at hand. Tens of thousands of businesses in this country have disappeared because of this problem of financial management and understanding the difficulties involved with it. How many of you know people who managed to get a loan and start the business, but nobody sat down and worked out with them how you do a business plan, how you direct the business forward, what the goals are, how you forecast what your profits are going to be, how you decide what the correct price is, how you identify the strengths and weaknesses in the market. Every business has a market that it must cater to. And you got to identify, this is where, if I'm doing this for girls, then the ladies who are between 25 and 35, this is what I should do. The ones who are a little bit younger, like Cindy, you got to do a little something different because that's a different category. She is young. The reality is, that's a conversation we have to have. We are now launching something that goes island-wide. Every district, and therefore every household in Barbados will have a chance now, free of charge, to be able to engage with the Financial Literacy Bureau in order to help them to come to understand some of the fundamentals about planning out and operating and sustaining a business. But why else is this important? Because of the fact that there are people who take their hard-earned money and pour into a mortgage. And that mortgage is the house that you live in. So that when the business fails, the danger is that you lose the house you live in too. But these are things that are not being discussed in Barbados. And then we wonder why it is that young men would choose to kill themselves. We wonder why it is that young females would choose to kill themselves. Because you have a set of circumstances where you commit to something and then it starts to fail and you have no options and you don't know what to do and how to do because nobody has stopped to pause to help you. With them days done though. And this Barbados Labour Party promised and pledged, and tonight we launched a National Financial Literacy Bureau so as to uplift the people of this country and guide them. And while I'm at it, I must say a strong thank you to Dwight Sutherland, who did a hell of a lot of preparatory work, which I came and found in the ministry. It was like a game of football, I told him so. You watch football and you see an excellent fullback put a tackle upon a man and take control of the ball, and he take it up to midfield, and all the man in midfield had to do is make sure he run with it and carry it to the goal bar. Don't even worry with the striker, I can take the thing in. That's how it went. And the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, there are other segments of this society. At 10 minutes to 12, I ain't going to humbug you with that, but I can tell you this. When we were at Sheffield 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, I promised to you that we were not going to leave out the taxi drivers in Barbados. I promised to you that that was a sector that was in deep trouble because all of them were reliant on tourists, and there are no tourists in Barbados, and we can't allow these mayors to disappear from the landscape of Barbados. And ours will tell you that on Friday, 250 colleagues went and met with me at Lloyders in Sandyford, and we have introduced for the first time in Barbados a software application that I told you we would introduce so that you all can now hail a cab and share a ride. And I can beg you, as Tony Moore said, let us help a brother and lift up a sister. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to beg you, when that software becomes universally accessible in Barbados 2 weeks from now, don't let us be a foolish society that got 2 and 3 cars at one house and 2 and 3 people get in each car. One person getting each car. 3 cars leaving one address to go into Bridgetown. Let me work to make sure that we keep that fraternity. There are over 1,000, maybe as much as 2,000 taxi drivers in Barbados who need the little help, who need the assistance. The government can only go so far by facilitating and making it easy for you to access them and them to access you. But we now need you to spend your money with working class brothers and sisters of Barbados so that the economy of this country and families and society does not disintegrate. That is where we have to go. I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the conversation we have will roll on and it will go on. I want you to leave here and be fresh tomorrow when we take the journey to take this wonderful and excellent candidate to nomination so that her own journey can begin towards the House of Assembly in an official and formal way. I believe that in Tony Moore, you have not only the best candidate, but you have a winning candidate. And she needs our overwhelming presence and our overwhelming support tomorrow so as to send an overwhelming signal to the desperados in the Democratic Labour Party and elsewhere that this government is not going to back down. We are going to put all the weight of the Labour Party in St. George North so as to land in spectacular fashion the best first-time candidate that the country has ever had in the history of its existence. Ladies and gentlemen, leave here, travel safely, get to wherever you're going. I hope most of you are going home. Good night, and God bless you.